This is my favorite show, or one of my favorite shows every year. The 2023 Sabres Betting Bonanza is on the way. Prop bets, award bets, first coach fired bets, over-unders. Find out how the Sabres fare and all of the betting odds at BetOnline. We will get into all of that as we approach the regular season, as well as number 4 through 6 in our Sabres Money and Power list. That's all coming up on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
You're Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Sabres your first listen every day, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including our YouTube show and our YouTube channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, us especially on YouTube. And we always appreciate a review wherever you may be listening, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, wherever you may be listening. Fun show planned for you today. Joe DiBiase at Locked On Sabres, at Sneaky Joe Sports to follow us on Twitter. It's one of my favorite shows every year. The betting odds, the betting bonanza for the 2022-23 season. We've got awards bets. We've got prop bets on players and on the team. We've got to make the playoffs odds, first coach fired odds, find out where Don Granato ranks in that regard. And just a lot of good stuff, over-unders on the Sabres point total. Just, I can't contain myself. There's so much to get through, and we'll do it all today on our Betting Bonanza edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. And stay tuned for later in the show. If you've been keeping track of our Sabres Money and Power list, I've been ranking the 30 most impactful and influential individuals in the Sabres organization. We are almost at the top 5. In fact, today we will enter into the top 5. 4, 5, and 6 in our Sabres Money and Power list is upcoming. No preseason game tonight on a Friday night for the Sabres. They will be in action, though, at home hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And then next Tuesday, hosting the Carolina Hurricanes. Only a couple of more preseason games to go, though. 3 more. That's it. 2 against the Penguins, 1 against Carolina, and it's on to the regular season Thursday, October 13th, hosting the Ottawa Senators. All right, so I'm ready to jump right in. We don't have any news to talk about on the Sabres front. No captain's been announced yet, unless, let me check Twitter. Nothing. No Sabres captain's been announced yet. Nobody's been sent down to the minors yet or to juniors yet, tracking whether Matthew Savoy will start the season with the Sabres. Nothing there. So let's jump right into it. It is our 22-23 betting bonanza for the Buffalo Sabres. And we will start with the team bets. In fact, over under point total. We can even talk about just specifically what the total is. And it's 77.5. That is not that high. And Sabre fans will be itching for that to be an over, because imagine if they don't reach 77.5 points. That was a 76-point total for the Sabres last year. That would be a regression or a plateau, to say the least, if they don't reach that mark. I do think they'll hit the over. I think they're a good enough team. I think they will make enough steps. Now, I don't think they'll make a massive step forward, because teams behind them, like Detroit and Ottawa, have made more moves to get better right away. So I'll take the over on the Sabres over under 77.5 points, but I wouldn't pick them to go too much over, probably in the low to mid 80s. Now, what about expectations? What is a success? Because not hitting that over, I don't even know what we're talking about. I don't even know what it looks like. The kids plateaued. Are we talking about the coach again? Or are we talking about the GM again? They gotta reach 77 points, and they really need to get even higher than that. Because, man, that would just be so deflating. But again, I understand why they are there. The Sabres do not have a good reputation around the league. I understand why the line is set there for the books, because they're a young team. They have maybe been passed by 2 teams in their division. I mean, right now, you can make a very serious case that they are the 7th best team in a division of 8, and that they're only better than Montreal. You can make a serious case. I would still debate that they are better than Detroit, but it's close. Certainly close. Over under 77.5 points. How about Sabres to make the playoffs? plus 375 to make the postseason, minus 550 to miss the playoffs. I like the playoff bet here to make the playoffs. I don't like doing minus bets. Just you don't make enough money. You bet $10 on minus 550. What are you making? You're making $2, not even $1. Not good. I'm not betting on them to miss the playoffs. I would make the bet to make the playoffs with the odds. I kind of do like the odds, but my guess is they will not make the playoffs this season. And I think it's a pretty safe assumption. Would love for one of these years for them to surprise us all, and that's how it will happen. The first time they make the playoffs, it will surprise everybody. Most likely, that's how that happens. And maybe that'll be this year. But as of now, I don't think the roster is well developed enough and is not, they're a whiskey barrel that's only 1 year in. We got 5-6 more years to go. That is not a great comparison analogy maybe to use for this, because I don't think this is going to take 5 or 6 years. I think maybe one more. I would predict they make the playoffs next season, but not this season. Tage Thompson, over under 30.5 goals for this season. That is at plus 6,600. Oh, excuse me. I just combined two bets. Hold on a second. Tage Thompson over 30.5 goals. I'll take the over. That is allowing for there to be some regression on a crazy high shooting percentage. And because Thompson's playing a position he's never played before, there is reason to believe he might just maintain at that shooting percentage, which would be almost 40 goals. If he regresses, even by a good chunk, still talking low 30s, I think there's a lot of room for him to come down and still hit that over. I do believe Tage Thompson will be in the 30s this year for his goal total. I'll take the over on Tage Thompson over under goals at BetOnline. At BetOnline, that number I just accidentally spit out, plus 6,600, is Thompson to win the Rocket Richard as the league's leading goal scorer. Now, plus 6,600, that might sound like he's way down the list, but he is not. He is the same odds as Jack Eichel to win the Rocket Richard Trophy. Imagine if I told you that 2 years ago, that Tage Thompson is going to have the same odds to win the Rocket as Jack Eichel will. You would be blown away, and you'd be more blown away if you knew that Eichel wasn't on the team anymore. But Thompson is at plus 6,600, the same odds as Eichel, the same odds as Vladimir Tarasenko, Willie Nylander, Matt Duchene, Evgeny Malkin, better odds than former Sabres Ryan O'Reilly, Evander Kane. How about Elias Pettersson? Better odds than Sidney Crosby and Mitch Marner. Now, a lot of these guys are more playmakers, but it really speaks to how highly thought of he is as a shooter and as a goal scorer, that Thompson is in some pretty good territory, one spot below Nikita Kucherov in the odds. So Thompson, long shot odds to win the Rocket. I don't think he possesses the 50-plus goal potential that you need to win it. So I would not personally take this bet, but it's a fun one. This is a fun one to put a couple of bucks down on. How about the Calder Trophy? Calder Trophy odds are super interesting, and it's because this is the award the Sabres have the most bodies involved in. You're going to have to stay tuned, though, to find out where Owen Power ranks, Jack Quinn. Is there another Sabre listed? This is the award for the Sabres this year to think about the most. The Calder Trophy given to the most outstanding rookie. We'll do that when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. And coincidentally, our sponsor for today's show is BetOnline, where we are getting all of these odds that we are talking about right now. And it's not just hockey. BetOnline is your number one source for football betting information all season long. Find the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on any game you could find. I use BetOnline a lot for my fantasy lineups. I go there to find out, okay, is Christian McCaffrey playing? He missed a couple of practices. Is Jameis Winston playing? Do I want to play Jarvis Landry or not? Because is it Winston or is it Dalton? Go to BetOnline. You find it's actually a good way to decide for lineups. You can look at over-unders for the week. Do I want to play Raheem Mostert? This is actually a decision I had. It's a very weak running back room on this fantasy team. But would I rather play Raheem Mostert or Rex Burkhead? How am I supposed to know who to play between Raheem Mostert and Rex Burkhead? Here's a good way to do it. Go to BetOnline. Check what they're listed at for their over-unders. How many? Oh, Raheem Mostert over under 39.5 rushing yards. Rex Burkhead over under 33.5 rushing yards. I'm going to go with Mostert. Give it put BetOnline. Make them your tiebreaker for your fantasy lineups. Fastest and easiest way to check all your favorite games and events. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, our 2022-23 betting bonanza, one of my favorite shows of the year. How about the Calder Trophy, the league's most outstanding rookie? And this is the award for the Sabres. They have more players listed here than any other award, and they have more players listed near the top than any other award. So I'll put it up on our screen for you because there's a couple of guys to look at here. We've got Owen Power here. BetOnline did accidentally put an S in there. That's okay. We'll forgive them. It's Owen Power, not Owen Powers. But plus 450. Power, second in the odds to win the Calder Trophy, only behind Mason McTavish. That's the only guy. Matty Beniers right behind Powers, William Eklund behind that. Those are the big guns that are going for the Calder Trophy. Power among them. Power is second in the odds. I don't love Power for this bet. I'm not going to lie. And here's why. This is the type of award where voters that don't watch the Sabres night in and night out might lose track of the value that Power really brings. And what they will do is to overcompensate for that is look at the stats. They'll look at the point totals. That happens with the Norris Trophy every year. Brent Burns was a Norris Trophy because he had 88 points. Was he ever the best defenseman in hockey? No chance. But the numbers go a big way to winning awards like this. So what does that look like for Owen Power? He's not going to get top power play minutes. And to me, that's where the story begins and ends. Dahlin will be getting the power play minutes. So Dahlin, to me, is going to be racking up the assist totals, not Power. Power will put up good numbers, I think, maybe in the 30 to 40 point range in his first season with some upside to go a little bit higher. But because he's going to have limited power play minutes and limited offensive zone starts, because that's also going to be given to Dahlin, I would imagine, I think Power's numbers get deflated just a little bit by his usage, and I don't think he'll win the award. But I think we'll be arguing at the end that he was the best rookie. And we might be frustrated at the end of the season that he doesn't win it because his numbers aren't high enough. But we'll know, hey, he was dominant. He was awesome. And for his defensive play. So Owen Power plus 450. Jack Quinn down the list a little bit here, but not too far down the list, just behind Marco Rossi at plus 1,600 to win the Calder Trophy. In fact, Jack Quinn's odds are the exact same as first overall pick Yura Slafkovsky of the Montreal Canadiens. I like Quinn more for this bet than I do Power. I think Quinn could show up right away after a historically good AHL season with the Amerks and put up 30-plus goals as a rookie, 50 to 60 points as a rookie with some upside to even go higher than that. I think sky's the limit for Jack Quinn, and sky's the limit for Jack Quinn offensively, and that is what you need to win awards, is the offensive numbers, because there's a flaw in the system in that voters don't watch all of these games and they just look at the surface stats, not even the in-depth stats, the surface stats. So because of that, I like Jack Quinn as a bet more than I do Owen Power. Plus, you're getting way better odds at plus 1,600. Much further down the list, if you scroll way down, is JJ Peterka, who might even start the year in Rochester. If you want to throw a couple bucks on a deep shot in JJ Peterka, you're getting paid out a lot more, but again, the risk is baked into that because Quinn, we're pretty darn sure he's going to be with the Sabres. Power, we know is going to be with the Sabres. Peterka, it might be 50-50 right now to whether he starts the year in Buffalo or in Rochester. So those are your Calder Trophy odds listed at BetOnline for the Buffalo Sabres. The next award we will talk about is the Norris Trophy for the league's top defenseman. How do the Sabres fare in that regard for the 22-23 season? Rasmus Dahlin, way down the list as the first Sabre listed at plus 5,000. And then Owen Power much further down at plus 10,000. I don't think Power, again, will have the numbers for this. So at 10,000, I guess, what the hell? Do it. It's such a long shot. But Dahlin, I do think is actually possible. I would not think it's going to happen. But some chance. Could it happen? Could he surprise? Yeah. Because he's going to put up huge numbers. He's going to get the power play minutes. And if he could do what he did from December on from last season, but he could do it for a whole 82 games, and the team gets better, and the goalie gets better, and he's the best player on a team that shocks everybody. Think about it that way. If the Sabres make the playoffs and they stun everybody by doing it, and that's possible, who's going to get the credit? Now, the coach is going to get probably most of the credit, and we'll get to the Jack Adams Award in a second. But if Dahlin is the best player on a team that shocks everyone and makes the playoffs, he'll have a shot at the Norris Trophy. I truly believe that. But again, the numbers will have to come with it. I think his formula for winning the Norris is the Sabres stun everybody by making the playoffs. He's the best player on a team that stuns everybody, and he gets 90-plus points. I think the point total has to be that high for him to get that award. Maybe if you talk high 80s, there's this outcome where he does it, but for it to be overwhelming in favor of Dahlin, I think it's got to be the 90-point territory. How about the Jack Adams Award? I just mentioned the formula for Dahlin to win it. The formula for Don Granato is pretty damn simple. He's just got to make the playoffs. And if Don Granato makes the playoffs, I do believe he will be the Jack Adams Award winner. I don't think he'll win it if they don't, and that's why he's a little bit further down in the odds. But we've got we've got Don Granato at plus 2,500 to win the Jack Adams. The same odds as Todd McClellan of the LA Kings, right behind Craig Berube of the St. Louis Blues, just above Daryl Sutter of the Calgary Flames. If the Sabres make the playoffs, and because they don't have a superstar player like a Jack Eichel to hoard all the credit, I do believe that Don Granato will be the Jack Adams winner if the Sabres make the postseason because of the build of the team, and again, not having that dynamic superstar to be a part of it. He's plus 2,500. Now, how about the flip side of that? Don Granato to be the first coach fired. He is 7th in the odds at plus 1,200. Now, this award's actually interesting around the league. Sheldon Keefe, the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, is the favorite to be the first coach fired. That's very interesting. Lindy Ruff of the New Jersey Devils, who maybe barely survived last season, is 3rd in the odds at plus 750. I love Lindy. I hope that he gets it going in New Jersey because I love him and I want to see it work there. But sadly, I think he'd be my pick. I think Lindy would be my pick because he's on a short leash in New Jersey. It has not worked yet, and I can just see it happening. Granato, though, his odds being twice as good to be the first coach fired as opposed to win the Norris or the Jack Adams, I don't agree with that. I think Granato, honestly, is more likely to win the Jack Adams than he is to be the first coach fired. And that is because I think he has a lot of fans in that organization. He's a lot of fans in the fan base, and that will change if they don't meet expectations and they plateau or even regress. That will certainly change. But I really do think that Granato is in good standing with the organization, and it would take them finishing like last place for him to get fired. And I do not think that is within the realm of possibility. A couple other awards, throw them in here. They are listed. Actually, only one other do we have Sabres listed, and that is they don't have a Vezina or a Hart Trophy. They do have a Vezina nominee. In fact, they have two. Both Eric Comrie and Craig Anderson near the bottom of the list at plus 10,000. Not betting on either one of them to have any type of shot. So Comrie would be the one I would go with, not Anderson. I can't believe at that age he would play enough games to win it. But Comrie, sure, plus 10,000. What could go wrong? All right, your betting bonanza. A lot of juicy stuff in there. The Calder Trophy, again, is the one that we'll be tracking the most throughout the season. And if the Sabres are good, we'll be talking Jack Adams, but you could bet your bottom line on us talking Calder Trophy odds throughout the season, as Power, Quinn, and Peterka are all going to be talked about in that regard. All right, when we come back, 4 through 6 in our Sabres Money and Power list. Stay tuned. Joe DiBiase here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Let's keep going on our Sabres Money and Power list. 4 through 6, the most influential and important individuals in the Buffalo Sabres organization. We left off at number 6. Number 6 is Matthew Savoie, the highest upside offensively in the organization, in my opinion, the 9th overall pick of the Buffalo Sabres. He is a fun player, a dynamic player, crazy good hands, crazy good shot. I think the potential for him to be a 90-plus point player is higher than anybody else in the Sabres organization. It includes guys on the team right now like Tage Thompson and guys that are down in the system. I think is the most likely first-line center for this team. And the Sabres need a franchise centerman. You need a top-level defenseman. You need a top-level center. And they have the top-level defenseman, but they do not have the top-level center at this point in time. So I've got Matthew Savoy because of the upside and because he plays a position and he gives you hope at a role that the Sabres do not currently have an answer to, and that is who is the franchise center. Number 5 in our list is Sabres general manager Kevyn Adams, the builder. He brings everything together. Kevyn Adams empowers the likes of Don Granato and Sam Ventura and Jason Carmanos and Jerry Fortin. He empowers them all. It is up to him to listen to guys like Ventura and Carmanos. He needs to be the one that is taking the advice of the analytics people and is putting it into action. And for that, you need a GM that is open to listening to guys like that. And Adams has been to this point in time. And to me, that is enormous. Also, so far, so good on some of the massive trades he has made. Jason Botterill got off on the wrong foot, and his whole GM tenure was cursed because he screwed up the Ryan O'Reilly trade. But Adams, he's off on the right. He needed to get off on the right path, and he did that with the Jack Eichel trade that looks very good so far. He got that with the Ristolainen trade. We crushed it with the value on that. We knew it from the start. And we'll see on the Reinhart trade. That doesn't look great right now because Reinhart has been so dominant with the Panthers, and the Sabres have a goalie prospect that we have to wait and see on, and a first-round pick that was so late in the pecking order. We'll have to see what becomes of Yuri Kulich and Devin Levi for that. Number 4 in our Sabres money and power list is the owner, Terry Pegula, the owner of the Buffalo Sabres. The long-term stability of this franchise and it being here in Buffalo is Terry Pegula. Decides how much resource will be put into the team. And again, this is more a ranking on you have this much influence, this much impact. And that doesn't have to mean it's always good because there might be some questioning right now of how much resources are being put into the Sabres. But because Terry Pegula is 50% of that equation, he deserves to be number 4. He empowers the guy that empowers everybody else. He's the guy above Kevyn Adams. So because of that, Terry Pegula makes the list at number 4. We'll get to our top 3 in our Sabres money and power list on our next episode. So thanks everybody for tuning in today. Again, we'll cover the Sabres preseason as it rolls along here and we get closer to what the final roster is going to be. At Sneaky Joe Sports, follow me on Twitter at JR Hanskin to follow Jordan Hanskin, who will again be a regular part once the season gets rolling. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Now go make your second listen, Locked On NHL. Locked On experts giving you a daily 30-minute podcast on all things NHL all year long. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts.